Motrimis mama la capre, motrimis mama la capre.
Previously on
Let's get it on! Next to speak is Chieftain Jordanos, the chieftain of the Putulatense. He gives a very charismatic speech, and I will quote, Barbar, 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 bar. And I don't think any translation is needed. He, of course, votes for war against the non-human Bastarnos. And so, King Tarbus decides to listen to his people, and the Getae will slowly prepare for war against the Bastarnos. Are we the baddies for attacking our neighbors who are already being raided by Eastern horse tribes? Well, the answer is yes, we are the baddies.
Return you now to your regularly scheduled program.
Welcome to another episode of Let's Get It On, to the killing fields of Petrodava, where we fight far over the misty mountain cold, to dungeons deep, full of copper. And since this is the first time ever that we are going to see the loyal Getaean army in action, I think it's only proper to get to know the units that will make the story of this army so much interesting. First, of course, is King Tarbus, the first to his name, king of the Getae and the first man, the Goat Father himself. All hail the Goat Father! Sporting the latest in Getaean high fashion, comprised of literally all the iron we have in the great hamlet of Malva, the richest man of the wealthiest tribe. All the women want them and all the men want to be like them. These are the Getaean King's Guard. And speaking of men who want to be like them, let's meet the princelings. Maybe title of man is a bit too much since they are teens, but they are wealthy enough to own a horse and eager enough to prove themselves in battle. Mostly the sons of the nobles who make the actual King's Guard. They have high aspirations to one day join the King's Guard. I can almost imagine a conversation that goes something like this.
Father, why do you put all this armor on your horse? Why not give some to me? Don't you love me? And the father
just glares at him.
If you are stupid as this animal to allow yourself to get stabbed, you are not my son. Your mother is fertile and will make another. Now go along with your friends and skin me a cat.
Now let's move to the plebs, those who can't afford a horse. Also known as most of our population. Now the actual bulk of the army would be the 1st, 2nd and 3rd Regiment of Spear. Hardened men of Malva, hardly trained on how to hold a spear. And they will be known as the Malva Line. But what kind of line is this? It has gaps in it. But in those gaps we will find the 1st and 2nd Regiment of Malva warriors, mostly comprised of men who find chopping down wood too mundane of a task and would like to diversify their CV with limb chopping, a skill set quite desirable in the new job marketplace of 278 BC. And working with them in tandem, our interns, the 1st and 2nd Malva youth groups. But these young Getae lack in fighting prowess or numbers, they make up in sheer chutzpah, fighting for the glory and honor of King Tarbus, the first to his name, king of the Getae and the first man, the Goat Father himself. All hail the Goat Father! On range we have the 1st and 2nd Malva bow regiments, former hunters who are up for the task of hunting the most dangerous of game, man. And of course we indulged ourselves in hiring the slightly expensive Malva slingers, men who, because of our investment, could afford some leisure time to perfect their use of the sling. Our sling is not a complicated piece of machinery, but to be able to hit accurately and with enough force to break bones, that takes some time. because of course we all know the Malvanian proverb of words will never hurt me, but slings and stones will break my bones. And of course, last but not least, the Potulatense diehards, men so eager to slaughter their enemies that they were willing to join the loyal Getaean army, despite not technically even being of the Getae. And honestly, these men stink, because they only bathe in the blood of their enemies. This is also why some of them don't even wear shirts, because showering with clothes on is just crazy talk. And we are facing literally what's left of the Bastarnos, since their king pulled the Disappearing Fathers Act, went to kill some Katiroi and never came back. Ironically enough, all of this resistance was organized by Dacian Collaborators, men of Dacia, who have forsaken their gods but not their ways, as you can see by this particularly well-dressed man. He still shows up to battle the Dacian way, no clothes, big swords, and a nice hairdo actually. What they actually have is just a few units of Celtic tribesmen and some Celtic bowmen, some local hunters that came to help, and a whole bunch of citizens. A whole bunch of them. We are actually starting the battle in our typical formation, which will be the Malva line in the middle, and in the gaps we have the warriors, and with the youths that will help to flank. And in the deep reserves we have the Potulatense diehards with the king and the princelings waiting to find any kind of exploits. And of course our archers are up front, trying to bait the enemy. The two bowmen and the unit of slings is just between them, with the idea being that we will try to bait them with range fire and then retreat behind the Malva line, and then when they charge at us we start exploiting any kind of weaknesses with the X-Men and Peltas. But as you can see, our main plan doesn't even survive the first 5 minutes, since we spotted the enemy general, who is actually in I guess their best unit, but their best unit are really badly armored, barely clothed Dacians. So we moved our slings that have the most range to be just in front of them, and as soon as they get in range to start and pelt them with pebbles. And this is when the actual order to fire at the enemy was given. The slingers are running forward to get in range, but I guess the Dacians can speak our language, and they heard that the big shouting of shoot at them or something similar, and they charged. And as you can see, we immediately reacted by noping right out of that situation and coming back with our slings and providing some cover with the cavalry. But the initial plan will remain the same despite the enemy coming to us. We will try to do as much damage as we can to their main damage dealing unit with our bows, while the princelings on a quest to make their fathers proud and hopefully get a nice souvenir from this skefuffle, the decapitated head of one of the treacherous Dacians. This is that awkward moment in the battle when it already started, but it's kind of the quiet before the storm, where each warrior has enough time to ponder and think about all the decision he made that brought him here, and if they were the actual correct ones. While they are taking damage, we are slowly encroaching on them. They are shooting at our Marvel line that has shields, while we are more pickish with our targets. As you can see, this is really effective. And I think at this point they decided to charge. But as you can see, like almost half the unit is already dead because they were focused by 3 ranged units. And despite that, they are still kind of scary. Even with half the men dead, the Dacians are still the biggest threat we have to face. And the princelings, knowing that they have to impress, they will go straight to try and kill as many Dacians as they can. First they threw some pylons, and now they're actually charging into the fray. And I guess being sandwiched like this between a unit of spear and a charging horseman really broke the spirits of the treacherous Dacians. That's all it basically took. One charge and the Dacians are running for the hills. Now these were all the shenanigans on the right flank. Now with the magical power of editing, we will go to the left flank, where the Potulatense will show us how true men of Dacia are supposed to fight. Men who haven't forsaken their gods, brave enough to show even their backs to the enemy, trying to bait them to come and charge, despite their orders being wait until the Marvel line is engaged and then try and come around with a nice flanking maneuver. Here you can see the nice exchange of fire. While the Bastanos are shooting willy-nilly, we are really being precise with just trying to kill the Dacians. The rest we will kill with our bare hands. And it seems like the Potulatense diehards are on the move. And here we can see the youths are already breaking formation and will try to come, because I think we noticed that our line is a bit too thin. The enemy still has quite some numbers, so we are actually forming somewhat of a line with the Potulatense, while the youths are doing the actual flanking, coming around even the Potulatense to try and help us. Now here I think, yeah, they actually engaged us. So the Potulatense have two choices: to come and help their Getaean brothers, or pick their own fight. As you can see, this is the type of sub-optimal tactical play that we are all about here, and let's get it on. If a unit doing something silly makes sense from a roleplay point of view, you betcha I'm gonna do it. And this is not necessarily about winning or losing, it's all about having fun. Now here we have in the background a perfect example of how King Tarbus, the first to his name, King of the Getae and the first man, is going to use the eager youth groups. They will use their speed to quickly position themselves on the enemy flank, throw their pylons at the enemy, and when they run out of pylons they will charge, screaming, "All hail the Goat Father!" Well, as you can see, our left flank is doing quite well. The Potulatense are really going berserk all over those poor tribesmen. So I guess let's have a flyby over our center flank, where most of the fighting is actually taking place between the unskilled Petrodava citizens and our barely trained spearmen. Unlike the right flank that just melted because we strategically focused it, the center held for quite a bit. Now for some of you it might be hard to distinguish between a friend or foe, but that's just because you're not in the nitty-gritty of things. You see, for our warriors it's fairly easy to distinguish. Just by smell. Those that smell like goats are friendly, and those that smell like sheep are the enemy. The center held until news about their Dacian allies abandoning the field of battle reaching them. The Dacians were the men who organized this army, and hearing about them fleeing must have felt like they were royally bamboozled. And if that was not enough, then reports of the Potretense literally decapitating people in sheer rage on the right flank might have done the trick. Eventually the center broke. It was sudden and glorious. And look at our warriors, not even bothering to chase the fleeing enemy. They're just cheering. What is this? Where are you going? And welcome to our victory parade, where we celebrate the slaughter, the successful slaughter of the Bastarnos, because this wasn't really much of a battle. 2,600 men died today, and only 200 of these were our men, so a bit one-sided. And welcome to the best part of these videos, the showing of the numbers. We barely lost any men, only 200 and something men, and oddly enough most of that we still lost to the Dacian Folksmen, who despite losing at least half their men to just range fire, still managed to make us pay. And we also lost a few men to some archers, but that's just unavoidable. The units who excel, the MVP of this battle would be the Potretense, with 424 confirmed kills, which is awesome considering that they're not cavalry. They didn't run away after fleeing enemies, or they did all of that in actual combat, in man-to-man dismemberment. And another unit that surprised were one of the flanks did incredibly well. A unit of spear did 228 kills, I guess mostly on civilians, but still, and also one unit of axe with 225 kills. These are not rookie numbers. And now that I look at it, even one of the youths, but I think I sent one unit of youths to, since they are so fast, to run down fleeing enemies. So the 300 kills here might be a bit deceiving. All in all, somewhat a boring fight, I guess, because the terrain was just flat, no features, and the actual armies weren't that impressive. But hey, it's a nice warm-up.